Good evening, Star Wars fanatics. My name is Ben.
And I'm Joe, and tonight we're going to do a little brief recap about the series finale of Star Wars Rebels.
And thanks so much for joining us, everyone. And we hope that you love Star Wars like we do, because we're going to talk about it. And of course, because we know his wonderful gifts of storytelling, but we're not going to get too deep into that. Just want to give a quick shout out to Dave Filoni because he's awesome.
Yeah, agreed. And it's been recently revealed that he's also the voice of Chopper. In the final episode, he finally gets credit listing as the voice of Chopper, which I thought was really cool.
And that's something that I had learned of that somehow, and I completely had kind of forgotten about it.
But I think it had leaked. I think he had been listed on Wikipedia as the voice well before the finale, so it wasn't a surprise to me. But then at the same time, I don't know where they got their information, but good job, Wikipedia. But it's cool that he was actually a part of the voice cast too, I think.
Yeah. You could always see him showing up as a stormtrooper.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's one of the things that I found in Rebels more specifically is that I wish that I could have known more of the planets, because there's a lot of planets that we get,
Yeah.
and it's like I love the fact that we got this in Rogue One. In Rogue One, you see the planet so and so from blah blah blah, and it's like it's like a lot of the sci-fi flicks that you see where it tells you what planet it is, and Star Wars never did that before.
Yeah, Rogue One is
you see
literally
Rogue
the only one.
And it's like I wish they did this in Rebels. I hope they do it more, because I do want to know immediately what planet they're on, because you find out much later, and it's like and then you don't remember, and at least for me personally, that's the way it happens.
I guess the one good thing is that it begins and ends in Lothal, and they spend most of their time in Lothal. But it would be nice in some of these movies to know the name of it. It would just help me to remember. For context, exactly.
For us, for our own selfish needs. So the reason I say that is because I don't remember what planet this is. But it's a great moment because, of course, we've got the AT-ATs, and this does bring you right back to...
Isn't that Lothal? Aren't they coming back?
No, this isn't Lothal. This
is
a different planet, because they're actually... it's the same planet that they... I think it's literally like season 2 where they end up in a sandstorm with AT-ATs and... that are searching for him in a sandstorm. So and it's where they first introduced the clones in Rebels.
Okay, yeah. I like good use of an AT-AT right there. That was really cool that it was actually a mobile landing pad.
Finally, we can the giant walking coffee table. Okay, we're gonna move on. So this was forgive me. Is this Rex? I don't know.
No, that's not Rex. I forget.
Is it Cody?
Yes. Yeah, this is kind of where they're coming to recruit these guys for the final battle on Lothal. Really kind of a cool epic moment, because I love the clones that survived. I hated the clones having to turn on their Jedi allies because of what was imprinted in their DNA through the Emperor.
Well, it was actually a chip.
Yeah.
Damn it. Sorry. We're having
technical problems.
Editing problems. Sorry. No, it was a chip. So I'm sure all of you know that. Whatever. But maybe it was DNA too. I'm not sure. Was there DNA?
Well, I'm not sure, but it was definitely a chip that was implanted with Order 66 to take him out. And I love how with Rex and Cody and some of these other guys that you got to know through the Clone Wars series that it didn't take. Yeah. And that you even saw signs of that earlier in the Clone Wars, even before the article is mentioned. You see a couple of them almost attempt to kill the Jedi, and it's like, wait a minute, what am I doing? So I thought it was kind of cool that they hinted at that, because it really, in Attack of the Clones, you didn't know for sure, and it took the Clone Wars cartoon to explain that. But I love that these guys have lasted so long, because I like Rex, man.
It was cool too, because it brought it all back home, seeing that software having failure, the software acting too soon and almost giving up the ghost as far as the chip in there. So.
And also to quote Spaceballs, even in the future, nothing works. So, am I right? Yeah, I like Kallus.
I love it. Yes, Kallus. Joe and I actually discussed that Kallus is one of our favorite characters from this show. I love his arc. We've discussed this before in saying on our Star Wars discussion shows that Kallus is arc is incredibly awesome because you see him go through his things. You see him realizing that the Empire isn't for him, and you want him to go, and he leaves, and it's not shoehorned. There's no what I mean to say, it's all very legitimate. It feels organic the way he leaves. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely in that Star Wars vein of going from light to dark to light, you know, because within Star Wars there's very few characters that fit into sort of a gray field. There's good and there's evil. And to start off with a character like Callus that you just don't like him at first. He's just a typical Imperial bad guy, but you know, he's got the great sideburns, you know, it's just he's got a classic look, and so for me that was intriguing. I was like, I really like his design, but he's a bad guy. But like we discussed earlier, with him spending some time with Zeb and kind of developing the camaraderie, like it was nice to see his arc and to have him switch sides, because he just wound up becoming one of my favorite characters in the entire run of the show. Mine too. I love him.
And this does make me think. This guy makes me think of Return of the Jedi. Doesn't that make you think of Return of the Jedi?
Yeah, that's Rex.
It's so cool. It's like they're living up to the. That's
not Rex. That's a different one. But yeah, it's the same. He's wearing the same kind of helmet.
It's like it just when they initially said when they initially looked at, there was like a photo of people in Return of the Jedi, and they're like, there he is. That's one of the clones. And it just like randomly decided that.
And that's a happy accident, because of course when they were writing this, the Clone Wars and this kind of or Rebels, and they were bringing Rex in, I don't think they consciously went, he was on the Battle of Endor. It's one of those happy accidents that you're like, wait a minute, that guy looks a lot like this guy. Oh, what the hell? Make him the same character. It's not even important, but it just kind of fleshes out the universe a little bit more.
It's great.
And shows that the Force is binding. I love that guy.
Yeah, Hondo it's once again, I've said this before, I'll say it one more time. I liked him a lot better in Clone Wars. He's kind of your comic relief old guy who's like, because Ezra's my best friend, which is fine, I guess. I really liked him better in the Clone Wars. He was much more threatening and going through with things that he had to go with Kenobi, trying to keep things. One of my favorite arcs ever in the Clone Wars is when he is trying to defend his stronghold, his whole area, and Kenobi comes to save him from Maul and Maul's brother.
I forget his name.
I can't. It's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't remember. Anyway, so that was crazy. So anyway,
I like Hondo across the board, but I actually kind of enjoy how he's sort of become this odd comic relief, as you say. For some reason, it just works for me. I like it.
It definitely works for the show for sure. I've said this before. I'll say it one more time. I love how, in general, with Star Wars, you see one part of a planet and you know what planet it is. In a lot of situations, you know immediately, especially with Clone Wars, you know immediately what Mandalore looks like because of its bubbles and these desert landscapes and things, which I'm dying to know how it got that way. But anyway, it makes you want to explore the more science of the planet. And this right here, we know it's Lothal immediately because, and this just kills my argument before. I wanted to, but there are planets, a lot of planets that you don't recognize, and so that's why I was saying that I want the planet to be told us what planet is. But this particularly with our cone-shaped rocks and your
wheat fields
and the giant, huge grass plains, makes you know right away it's Lothal.
Yeah, and I think Lothal is actually a really cool city. I like the planet.
Is it Lothal City? I have no idea. I don't know. I can't remember if the name of the city is. It just they've been calling it the capital.
Yeah, anyway, I'm just the whole concept of Lothal and the fact that it begins there with Ezra and it ends there with Ezra. Everything kind of comes full circle, kind of lost in that sense.
Yeah, we're actually going to get to specifics on that in just a second here. Okay. So I actually love, once again, I love Price. As we've said before, she is in the Thrawn novel. She's like a kind of a third side plot, whatever. But she has actually a huge story in it. She's a city girl trapped in a country girl's body. Really cool story. I like how she ends up on Coruscant and almost gets mugged, and goes through these really really cool experiences on Coruscant. And I think Price is really badass. I really like her.
I think she's definitely a good villain for the show. She's the type of villain that you love to hate because she is very wicked.
Yeah.
Like, and she just has a way of delivering lines, and just the look, the haircut, everything about her just screams the Empire. And
it's a very Nazi-esque look.
yeah, oh, very much so. Of course, you know, anybody who knows anything about George Lucas and Star Wars knows that the Empire is definitely based on the Nazis, obviously. But she's a very good villain, and I thought it was cool, kind of what happens with her in this season, in this series finale, losing her power and everything, and the fact that she'd never betray the Empire, never, not even to save her own life. It's just a testament to what type of character she is.
Yeah. She looks so funny in this scene. Anyway, so this
is an unusually shaped head. I'm just gonna say that.
Yeah, it is very unique. So kind of A-line-ish, 1990s A-line.
Or 1930s.
Or 30s. Yeah, exactly. So this scene, actually, you think that Ryder is going to betray them. I mean, for a moment, but then I was like, it's just part of the plan. But there are moments.
Part of the plan.
But there are moments where you're thinking, hey, he could be betraying them.
And by the way, Clancy Brown is the voice of Ryder. I mean, I cannot state this enough. Clancy Brown is one of the greatest living actors of his generation. He's one of the most underrated actors. If you've seen Lost, if you've seen Highlander, if you've seen Starship Troopers, The Shawshank Redemption, if you watch Superman the Animated Series, or Justice League Unlimited, or even SpongeBob SquarePants, you've got the great Clancy Brown. And so to have him join the Star Wars crew was just enormous for me. That was a huge draw. So big surprise, and very happy with his character. I like Ryder.
Yeah, he's cool. He's really cool. We're going to get more on him in a second, because he actually has some cool moments. He has some really cool moments. That's funny. I didn't realize that he had done that many, but I knew his voice from somewhere. It's like, you know someone's voice when they're doing that much voiceover work.
Oh, dude, man, he's in Buckaroo Banzai. He's in Pet Sematary 2. I mean, he's in Bride with Sting. The guy is all over the place. He's had a career that's spanned 4 decades, and I hope he comes to our comic convention sometime, because I would love to just shake the man's hand and tell him how awesome he is, and just keep up the good work.
I think now that Salt Lake City, Utah had to change their comic convention. So I'm going to start an actual Comic-Con and just teach people how to be cons. Like, to teach people how to be grifters. You know, we're going to just learn how to, like, con people and, you know, find the mark.
But it'll be Comic-Con because we'll grift with humor. Am I right?
I hope you guys are finding that funny. I thought that was hilarious. All right, and we're gonna
want romance.
So we're gonna move on. This is forgive me.
The battle there was awesome.
This was really cool. This was a really cool scene. I forgot the name of these things, and forgive me, any of you who want to leave comments about it. But these are really cool. We love these ships because they're a bridge between the prequels and the original trilogy. You have, you have your gunship / bomber, but it's also a TIE fighter. So it's great to see this like merging of. You know, it's like telling your, bridging the gap between these films in an animated moment. So, anyway, that's pretty cool. Once again, Ezra and Sabine, we can continue through these. This was a cool one. This actually reminded me of the Avengers. This scene, because it's a single shot. Yeah. And it goes through and it follows Sabine on her jetpack, and it reminds me of one of the great moments, group scenes in the Avengers, when it follows one person into the next. Yeah. It just for a split second, it reminded me of that. But anyway, really cool stuff. I just love seeing Sabine on her jetpack.
Yeah, I thought it was an amazing battle sequence, because they really did. The Empire really did have the upper hand. It's amazing that the plan came together. I mean, but that's Star Wars, right? Like, it's the same thing with the Battle of Endor or any of the major battles where it's just the odds are insurmountably against them, and yet they prevail because there are heroes. But it's so well animated that the action is so captivating. It's as good as anything you'd see in a live action Star Wars movie, which is part of the reason why I've loved Rebels and the Clone Wars, is because they really don't feel like, even though they're animated, that they're not connected to the overall universe, because they have the same tone, they have the same level of violence, and that's one of the reasons why I think Disney XD was kind of quick to, I don't know if you noticed this, but they sort of bundled the last few episodes as back-to-back instead of for for the remaining 5 weeks. It's like, let's just get them out over in 2 or 3 weeks, because it was kind of a Disney XD didn't know what to do with it. Their original mandate was to make it more kid-friendly, less violent. Of course, Dave and everybody involved was like, no, we're going to keep this traditionally Star Wars. And I think it was kind of a black sheep for the Disney XD channel because, and it's speculation, but my speculation, because they obviously want to try and keep a more family-oriented show. And this show does have a lot of death, and it does deal with darker themes that you normally don't get on any of the other Disney XD shows, which is why the next animated series will most likely be on the Star Wars streaming site, or the Disney streaming site, as opposed to XD. But yeah, great fight scenes in this episode.
I love his moment with Rook and Ezra, really cool stuff.
Yeah.
Rook, of course, Warwick Davis, really cool stuff happening there. This is actually a really cool scene because it's great. I love it how it actually shows them do what the Falcon did, which is come up onto the side of a Star Destroyer.
A little bit more detail in it.
But they show them, of course, these big giant cargo forklifts in the sky. So the ghost goes up onto the side of it, so you see this side view of it, and then the very next moment is them right side up, and you see the sideways outside.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's just a funny moment. Once again, Callus, cool.
Yeah, Callus, very cool. Even like the change of clothes, he looks good. He looks good as a rebel. Like I'd buy that.
I love that jacket. I want that jacket. Okay, yeah. I'm gonna cosplay as Callus one of these days. Actually, you know what?
I could.
You should.
I could. If I just grew the hair a little bit longer and get rid of this and just have the chops, I could probably pull it off.
You should. Right? Yeah. I'll be somebody else. I'll do Kanan or something. But yeah, you should.
We could do it. I would do it.
Space stations, and the popularity of them, and they actually mention all of this stuff in Catalyst, and how much of an influence in the book Catalyst, and how much of an influence the spherical battle stations have had since episode 1, The Phantom Menace. We see that first thing, and so that apparently played a lot of a role in architectural designers anyway.
That's the beautiful thing about Star Wars, is the visual consistency between the vehicles and the designs, and a lot of that can be chalked up to Ralph McQuarrie, who's a lot of his abandoned designs or retooled designs that were not used for the original Star Wars movie when it was the Star Wars were reused here. So I think that's very cool.
As we know, especially with the lightsabers and things they had taken, and of course Zeb and all these things they had taken from the original artwork, which is really cool. And
side note too, can I just say this real quick? You remember as a kid collecting the toys, they had that vehicle transport thing where you put the figures on the side.
Right.
But you never saw it in any of the movies.
Yeah,
it was an original concept thing. But they've used that as the transport for prisoners, which I was like, justified. Now I wish I still had that toy.
It's like if only I didn't burn it in the backyard when I was pretend murdering.
One of those things, like you're a kid, you're like, this isn't in the movie, so who cares if this one gets damaged, you know?
Or like, Did you ever like not want to buy, or at least the store would be out of frozen Han Solos, so we'd take Han Solo and put him in tinfoil, and that was the frozen Han Solo.
I actually put him in, I gutted part of my mom's ice tray once.
Oh yeah.
Cut the little blocks out so I could put him in there and put him in
really
ice.
Frozen.
And really frozen.
Okay,
problem is, he didn't. It was probably like the tinfoil putty, He-Man putty. I also used He-Man putty as well, and kind of put it in a cake mold. It's frozen. But once he was frozen, I think it was hard to play with, because after about 20-30 minutes, it'd start to drip and slip out of your hand and so he's thawing out. Yeah, it's gonna be a long process.
Hopefully you've all played with action figures like we used to. It's something that's I've been watching a lot of these videos on like Star Wars toys and how the decline of the selling and etc. All these things made me think about how of course I have nieces, tons, really huge. So I have a lot of nieces and nephews, and it's like, okay, so do they just like prefer to just play video games, or like play things that are like computer based? Or it seems that way. Like my nephew, that's all he does. He would never pick up an action figure, and I think that's probably some of it. But there's a lot of other reasons we can get into. We're not going to get into that today. But just kind of an interesting thing to think about. Like a physical toy is something that might someday become obsolete, or because we have all these things, VR and all these things where someone can step into something and they become part of that world. I mean, that's something that we were doing as kids, imagining stepping into that world. We were taking these action figures and stepping into that world. But now it's just, anyway, I'm just curious about it. Maybe, I don't know, any thoughts on that?
Well, and I just have a quick thought. I mean, it's a possibility that the sales of action figures will definitely, are on the decline because more and more kids play with computers and things rather than with toys. But, there'll always at least be the adult collector's market, So they won't go away forever. I mean, there'll always be the Star Wars Black Label. Even if the rest of the figures stop selling at Toys R Us, you'll still be, the adult collector such as myself that they make fun of so well on Saturday Night Live.
And you can leave it in the box.
Leave it in the box! I mean, so that'll never go away.
Okay. He has the guy who wrote that, I can't remember his name, on SNL.
Bobby Moynihan?
Okay, yeah. He has great stories that he told on Jedi Council about actually meeting...
J.J. Abrams.
No. Why can't I think of it? Colin Trevorrow. He had moments of
oh, that's right. He was going to do episode 9.
The famous scene, the thing that everybody talks about, Colin Trevorrow and Daisy, Colin Trevorrow and talking with Mark Hamill and Mark Hamill going, oh my gosh, this is great, and Mark Hamill being on the same page, like Bobby Moynihan was there when it happened, so he told the story. He told the story of them, of seeing them, and Colin Trevorrow, hey, we haven't spoken. Yeah, please tell me all about Luke. And I wanted to tell you my whole thing. And so he takes him aside, and Bobby tells him, I'm witnessing Star Wars history here because he's witnessing, Mark Hamill get told kind of what happens to his character.
Yeah.
Anyway, crazy stuff. So we're gonna continue on because we don't want to make this video long. We want to make it shorter. Beautiful moment with the Star Destroyers. I think Star Destroyers are awesome.
Yes.
Someday I'll have a Star Destroyer cake.
Nice.
I don't know. Maybe someday.
Imagine a guitar.
Yeah.
Here's the thing: they're great floating cities. That's what I've always loved about them. Is they're giant cities that fly through space.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna continue on. Once again, more cool battle scenes with Sabine on her jetpack. I want to see Sabine live action on a jetpack.
She's one of my favorite characters of the show too.
Mine too. Great moment with Price having to realize that what she's going through.
Yeah, that she's going to lose this battle because of the great beast, the great forest wolves. I forget what they're called, but they are great.
Loth wolves.
Yeah, I love them.
All right, and of course, Rook, where's your army now? I kind of have a weird crush on Price. I really do. From this episode, just seeing her big eyes, she's great. Anyway, really cool stuff. But I have more of a crush on her character in the book. So anyway, so for all you crazy people who think that's weird.
You like the bad ones, don't you?
I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's weird. So yeah, Loth Wolves, they have a really crazy arc.
Blown open, the wider mythology of the Jedi and the Force itself. In ways that I never ever thought they'd explore, and it's so fascinating, so cool.
It is cool, and just on a quick side note, too, Mark Hamill had expressed one of the Star Wars celebrations. He said, he asked her because he loves his dog, and of course Carrie Fisher was trying to get her dog in Star Wars, and so Mark was saying the same thing. They love their dog so much, and so he was saying, so George, are there dogs in Star Wars? And George says, no, there are no dogs, and so, but of course, this is Filoni's idea, but of course, but it's funny because it's to me, of course, if George was writing this and Filoni was on side of it, he probably would have made him less dog-like and more monster-like. But anyway, interesting fun fact for you that Lucas said there's no dogs in. Yeah, apparently there are.
Yeah. I'm sorry, nothing personal, but yes, they're there, and I love how vicious they are when they take on these stormtroopers. They are just. Yeah. I mean, you don't really see them rip them apart, but you could tell flesh is being mauled, people are being thrown to their deaths. It was actually kind of one of those moments where I thought, they did this. This is one of the most violent things they've done in this Star Wars Rebels, and I love it.
Okay, so we're gonna try to move on. Once again, I think that's Dave Filoni right there.
If not, it's Steve Bloom. I mean, the two bounce between.
Okay, and then of course Hondo's moment with yes, you perform well, I'm gonna pull your strings. This is actually the moment where they're talking about the Loth Cats and how they got attacked by Loth Cats, which I think is so stupid. It was one of the low points, but Dave Filoni in here as a stormtrooper.
Nice.
Moving on, sorry, we're gonna try to get through these. I apologize. We're trying to get through the main and important stories. Ezra looking at his two-dimensional image of his family in a 3-dimensional projector. Pretty interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was very interesting because it just out of nowhere, but it's, you know what, it's an image that actually stands out and kind of resonates, and it's also bringing us to a really cool moment in this or in the following episode, Family Reunion, because this is a fool's hope right here, building up to, in my opinion, a good finale, but we'll get into that. So moving on.
But it did. Sorry, everybody. Forgive us for blowing through. We know you've seen the episode, but we just don't want to make this video extremely long. But this did make me want to meet his parents. I wanted to meet his parents from the beginning. I wanted to know what they were all about. His mom seemed really cool and just very strong person in the government trying to take stuff down. And they do echo a little bit of their history in the Thrawn novel. But you don't get a ton of it. But you just hear about stuff, just brief moments of them kind of quarreling with Price, I think. Anyway,
because they were kind of original.
Price's family. I think it was Price's parents.
Okay.
Anyway,
because they're original rebels. They got killed for betraying the Empire.
Yeah.
So setting in events.
So anyway, we're gonna keep going. Once again, this is a funny moment.
Yeah, look at Callus, man.
Callus's moment is pretty funny. It's just cool to see all of them together, and it's just great. I just love seeing Callus on their side now.
Yeah.
Cool. Once again, spherical architecture, cool stuff, just reminiscent of the Death Star.
But if you notice, like it's the Imperial base there that's the rounded. That's the one thing that stands out because it's totally different from the rest of the architecture on Lothar, which I thought was cool.
Yeah, you're right. That's cool. It's good. I had remembered that until now.
Man, them taking that base was awesome.
So Zeb.
That's a good shot.
Trying to stop the blast doors. Pretty fun. Once again, of course, Lothwolf. This was an interesting moment because the Lothwolf actually senses that it's a bomb and gets away from it before it's going to explode.
Yeah.
Like you think of dogs, like in general, they're smart, or at least wolves are smart. But knowing right away that it's a bomb, pretty cool stuff.
Of course, they're also in tune with the Force, so they're smarter than your average wolves.
Yeah, definitely. Of course, Callus looks like Luke from Return of the Jedi.
He very much does. And when I saw that, I thought it's very Luke Skywalker because now, as a child, you see Luke and you're like, badass. Yeah. But then you get a little bit older and you're looking at him and you're going, that's really kind of a Nazi-esque outfit you're wearing, Luke. Why aren't you wearing the traditional Jedi robes and stuff? Well, he never completed his training. He never went to the Jedi tailor. It doesn't matter. But it's a cool costume. I love it. I'd never change it, ever.
Yeah, it's definitely really cool.
You ever notice how Ezra's outfit looks a little bit like an X-wing pilot outfit?
Yeah,
Just a little bit.
It's it's got the orange business going on there.
Kind of the color schemes.
You got Ryder back there. So, and this is the moment where you see Thrawn just basically saying, I had planned this all along, and I'm just going to start killing innocents.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because they make him out to be this in the book, in the Thrawn novel. They make him out to be this kind of. So, thank you for hovering. Thank goodness to our new hover technology.
Just so that people understand.
No, they make him out to be kind of a hero for his own people and not really evil. It's interesting. So it'll be interesting.
He still doesn't strike me as evil.
I'm dying to see what they're going to do with him here because in this next book, because there's a book coming out in July. Apparently, he teams up with Vader, or at least goes on a buddy cop adventure with Vader. Should be interesting to see what happens there. I am definitely, extremely curious about Thrawn and where they're going to take him.
Thrawn, for all the Imperial type things he does, like what he's about to do here, bomb the city, he seems more like an opportunistic character to me. Not so much motivated by wicked evilness, but motivated by his own weird agenda, which I still haven't figured out what it is.
But I think the reason why I'm thinking evil is because he's killing innocents here.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
So that's weird.
Which he's doing to make a point because that's what the Empire does. Right. They, very much in that good versus evil vein, black, white. He's definitely representing that side, but I think he's a slightly more interesting villain than what you get a lot of times in stories like this because, again, I don't understand what his full agenda is because it doesn't seem to be... I mean, he wants to help the Empire and whatnot, but he's got these weird things about collecting stuff. And
that's always been his thing. I mean, he collects the art for strategic reasons and for just interest reasons. And that's all fleshed out in all the original.
Which I haven't read. Yeah. I haven't read this book. I've only read the original Zahn books.
Yeah, and that's touched on those original Zahn books, but also in this book too, etc. And you know why he does it. But in general, I mean, he's, at least, spoiler alert, for the new Thrawn book, I mean, he is there to protect his people from evils of the Outer Rim. Or not evils of the Outer Rim, evils that are beyond our reach, evils that are beyond this galaxy. And these are evils, and so this is where I thought that they were leading up to Snoke, because in this book they essentially
Snoke's not
so or just and honestly,
galaxy.
dude, I would have loved to see, like, and we probably will never see it, but I would have. It would be interesting to see a whole race of Snokes, like, and they're all Snoke esque characters, or like large giants who are very strong in the Force, etc. So it'd be really crazy to see that type of thing, where Thrawn is like kind of gearing up to protect his people from that, and that's kind of what the Thrawn book is about. So anyway.
Well, and you say that we'll never know. I don't know, man. It took us 20 some odd years to find out who the Emperor was. Yeah. So there's, they've given us these characters. It's a huge playground, and I'm sure a lot of them are going to come back in the near future in one way or another, whether it's literary or on the small screen or whatnot.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll see it in a book. I mean, I'd rather see it other places, but I'm sure we'll find it in a book somewhere. So once again, it's just so you understand that my intentions are genuine. I'm going to kill innocent people. This moment reminds me of Battlestar Galactica a little bit, just because, of course, ships flying through the city, killing people. Once again, more shots of Sabine. I like that one.
Sabine is awesome. She's got great hair the whole time. She's got great eyes. She's a very strong, independent character.
Very cool.
And an artist too. And you gotta love somebody who's willing to fight the dirty fight, but can also create beautiful works of art. She's just an all-around great character.
Yeah, cool.
You concur?
I concur with that statement. Moving on, this just reminds me of Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah. In a lot of ways, being taken to the Emperor. It very much parallels Return of the Jedi.
Yeah. And of course, we all know the Isla Miri. Those are the Isla Miri right next to Thrawn. Basically, in old legends, they could basically defuse any Jedi's or Sith power in the Force. Very interesting stuff. You could have chosen to let your people die. So interesting moment there. Just Thrawn talking with, I believe, the Emperor. I can't remember what happens.
Yeah, it's a hologram. And
but is it Thrawn? No, the Emperor comes out. But Thrawn's talking to someone else. He's talking to Ezra here.
Right, right.
All right, so we're moving on. Weird moment of Emperor Palpatine and just kind of this.
Ian McDiarmid back as well.
Yeah, that's great.
But you actually get to see it. This is another first in the Star Wars thing. Old Palpatine.
Yeah.
But it's obviously not him, as you find out later on when it glitches out. You see the real Emperor there. It's just kind of interesting that apparently holograms can also mask things, which is something that's kind of new.
Well, I think it was actually. I think it wasn't the hologram. I think this is just speculating. We have no idea. But I think it was Emperor being able to project himself in a different way. I don't know.
Makes sense.
But at least that's what it felt like to me, because I could be wrong. It could be a technological thing. I don't know. What do you guys think? That is something that we're kind of running at a crossroads here. I don't know, because it seems like it was something that was within his abilities. But anyway, we're going to continue on.
Even if it was something that was in his abilities, we've never seen it before.
Yeah.
So either way, it was kind of an interesting thing to see. And of course, having Ian McDiarmid return was great.
Yeah, of course, it was great. And Sam Witwer normally does his voice, and he did the Emperor's voice in the Clone Wars, and up until now. He's great at what he does there. So anyway, this was interesting. They had a piece of the Jedi Temple from the previous episode here. We like to call it the Raiders of the Lost Ark episode with the wolves that are on, the wolves dancing on the hieroglyphic wolves dancing on the rocks.
Yeah.
Anyway, this was kind of a cool thing with the Jedi Temple, on the Star Destroyer, I guess, right? Isn't that what it was?
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on. This is a moment where I thought was interesting, because it's normally where they're normally at the end of a season, like in Rebels or whatever, we expect, because, and I'm so glad they didn't do it. You expect a lightsaber battle in a room like this.
Yeah.
And it's great that they didn't. They just had a kind of a shootout battle and kind of trying to shut stuff down.
And kind of sad though too at the same time, because they complete the objective, but we lose Cody. Who was it? Is that not Cody? I forget. Okay.
I can't remember. Did we lose one of the clones?
We lose one of the clones.
Okay.
And he's the kind of more unhinged one, but still, it was sad.
So this was crazy seeing Ezra seeing his parents in this moment. Once again, this brings me to think about the portals that we're going to see later. Weird, interesting stuff.
Weird, wacky stuff.
Anything to say about that? Or
no, I thought it was cool. I thought it was a very cool scene. I thought it was very cool the way the Emperor was trying to learn.
Yeah, and that was the one we were just talking about before, and I think we're going to see it here in a second. We're going to see it in a second. Well, we don't actually. I didn't get a shot of that, but it is a moment where another Indiana Jones moment. But that's the moment where we see the flicker. It's the flicker of Palpatine, and you see him as one, his projected fake self, and then you see him becoming. Anyway, I don't know. To me, it seems like now that you mention it, I can't tell whether it was technology or if it was anyway.
And it doesn't really matter because either way, the effect was cool because what Emperor Palpatine looks like. He doesn't, and of course he's not gonna try and. You can't try and win somebody over when you got the cloak and the. So be it, Jedi. It's just too menacing. You're going to be like, nope, I don't believe the thing you say. But when, Palpatine's always been good at projecting this sort of benevolent side when, he's really just evil. So, no, I like that whole moment. It worked for me.
From the fruits of the devil.
From the fruits of the devil.
But,
them out. All of them.
So, this was kind of...
Those space wells are cool, man.
I was, and I'm going to say it right now, I was one of the few who really hated the Space Whales episode, which was, I believe, in season 2 or 3. It was 3, okay. And I hated that episode. I was like, okay, so Ezra can... I think there was one point where he just puts on a helmet and goes out into space. It's like he needs a pressurized suit. But anyway, who cares? It was a stupid... I was not a fan, and then this, for some crazy reason... It just redeemed them all, and I really, really, really like them.
See, I'm the opposite. I didn't hate that episode. It wasn't the most memorable, but I did think that this moment was a little Deus Ex Machina.
Okay, so
it didn't ruin it for me. It was just kind of like, well, naturally, the space whales with the hyperspace technology. But otherwise, why introduce them if you're not going to bring them back? And if you're going to bring them back, you got to bring them back for something big. So they did. And sometimes Star Wars does that, where you're like. That's a little bit, but then it works out in the end, so I'm all right with it.
I'm just picturing all of Thrawn's cronies, the other chiss. Remember when Thrawn got carried away by those damn space whales?
Space whales, you say?
Okay, we're gonna
jumping to the future now.
The kind of the funny moments where I thought were funny, of course, that Callus gets, it's like he finds out that he hasn't killed all of. But it makes sense now in retrospect. Now that I've giving some thought.
All of the Lasat species.
More specifically, the fact that Zeb and Callus kind of developed a good friendship on that ice moon, and now it reminds me of that. I was like, oh, of course, because they actually became good friends that day, and now it makes a little bit more sense because I didn't like it at first, and I was like, it was too shoehorned in, and I was like, oh, he realized he didn't kill the people, so he's gonna be one of them now. He's gonna be a Lasat. It was too, but now it makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah, they totally agree. Yeah. The whole side note at the premiere of this thing with Dave Fillion and or Filoni and all the most of the voice cast, it was pretty cool. Somebody in the audience kind of asked, does Callus and Zeb get their own show now? And Steve Bloom, the voice of Zeb, was just like, yeah, we get our own show now. Or no, I think he asked it. Do we get our own show now? And I got to be honest with you, I would watch it.
I would.
They're just so captivating. You could just do 2 seasons of 10 episodes, and I would be fine.
But once again, we appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you like this season of Rebels? I did, but it definitely the end, in my personal opinion, could have been a little bit better. Some things I wasn't a huge fan of, but I still, like I said, I still enjoyed this season. So I was hoping that, maybe you guys want to tell us how you feel, or, leave a comment, please subscribe, or, tell us you want to hear more Star Wars discussions from us.
Yeah, absolutely. Let us know how you feel about the show as a whole if you want. I, for one, am a fan. I personally like this last season, and I think the 3-part finale was really well done, despite some of the slight cliches. But you're going to have that no matter what you do with something like this. And good job to everybody involved in the show, and thanks for bringing me 4 years of really awesome entertainment. And on that note, good night, everybody.
May the force be with you. Always.